Right now, I want to bring in candidate for Alabama's 6th congressional district, Gerrick Wilkins. Gerrick, how you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing great, doing great. Good to be on the show.
I want to ask you why you're running for Congress, but before we get to that, why aren't Republicans accomplishing anything in Congress right now?
Well, I think the biggest problem is they don't know how to get things done. We've got career politicians that are stuck in their ways trying to do the same thing over and over again. And as we all know, that's the definition of insanity. And that's why we've got to get business leaders and not these career politicians that have driven our country into the ditch.
I mean, it really is shocking to me. Even if people start and they've had a little bit of business experience going into Congress, when they become a lifer, there's a point where it's like they've lost all common sense as members of Congress. I mean, you see this, right?
Oh, it's very clear. In fact, I talk about that in my new book that just came out. But it's one of the primary reasons I'm running is we had a congressman who I've supported for years, and he made a commitment that he was only going to run 5 terms. And guess what? He has since changed his mind and is breaking that promise and thinks he's done so much good in doubling the national debt that we need to give him another decade or so. And it's just ridiculous that we see that. And they continue to side with the Democrats. They become Republicans in name only. And it's terrible. And that's why we've got to have more leaders, business leaders, farmers, first responders to take a break from their careers and run for public service because it's supposed to be a calling and not a career.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that there are a significant amount of members of Congress, and they're all Republican, by the way, that support term limits, but they themselves haven't followed their own beliefs system or retired.
No, in like I said, in my case, I've got a member of Congress not only supports term limits. When he ran that he was only going to run 5 terms. He said 10 years is enough. It's supposed to be a calling, not a career. And he is now breaking that promise and running again, which is one of the reasons I wrote this book that just came out, Unshackling Democracy, Embracing Term Limits, Empowering Citizens. And it's why I'm running, because I started looking at his record, and guess what? He sided more with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, like in the recent National Defense Authorization Act. I mean, it's just crazy to see that we're depending on Democrats to get things done, and we're forsaking our conservative values in the process.
I mean, it's insane to me. And one of those biggest values, I would imagine, should be defending our borders, right?
Oh, there's no question. We've got an invasion going on at the southern border, and Congress is failing to exercise their constitutional responsibility of oversight and appropriations. We love to blame the Biden administration, and they do need to be blamed, but Congress also needs to be blamed. We had the largest number of illegal migrants coming through the southern border in the month of December than in our country's history, and we're not doing anything about it. And that's why I've got a detailed plan to address this issue. And crazy enough, I'm even talking about how I'm going to pay for it. Because Congress loves to pass laws and then just add to the debt, but we need to pay for this stuff because our country's on the verge of bankruptcy.
No, I mean, I don't know. We can just keep printing money, right, and just make a dollar worthless. We can just be kind of Venezuela. Instead of going bankrupt, he just takes a wheelbarrow full of money to get eggs and milk. That's how it kind of goes, right?
That's right, and that's why my plan actually has a financial component that starts charging for international wire transfers, because you've got all these people that are coming here and taking our money and sending it all over the world. And if they're going to do that, there needs to be a cost associated with that. We need to use that to secure our borders. And we need to activate the National Guard, and we need to send the military down to Mexico and eradicate these cartels. I mean, this is one of the biggest issues in our country right now. It's a crisis. There's an invasion going on, and we're more concerned about sending more money to the Ukraine than addressing our issues on the southern border.
It's insane. Listen, a lot of the listeners here are probably hearing from you for the very first time. Who is Gerrick Wilkins?
So I've been in the business world for 25 years. I've been involved in philanthropic work and in automotive sectors, and I'm just one of these guys that's been fed up with the career politicians and the status quo in Washington, and I decided it's time to do something about it. And that's why I'm running. That's why I just wrote a book, and that's why I'm committing so much of my own resources into this campaign, because something has to change in our country. I'm blessed to have been married for 24 years. I've got a wonderful daughter who's a sophomore in nursing at University of Alabama, Huntsville, and I'm just trying to do my part to save our country.
Yeah, I don't blame you either. What was it was the term limit thing, right? I mean, when that was the straw that broke the camel's back for you. You were like, that's it. I'm tired of my member of Congress lying to me about term limits. He's saying that he was going to limit himself and he decided not to. I mean, is that what really did it? Like, because I'd imagine every American's frustrated. You happen to be in a position where actually you're not in a position to run for office. You run a successful business. You are giving up opportunities to make more money to run for Congress, and in fact, spending money to run for Congress. So, like, really, what was that moment? You're like, oh, I got to do this.
It was when my opponent broke his promise to only run 5 terms. And I think words matter. And if you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. And then I started looking at his voting record and found out that, he left the Freedom Caucus. He's decided that he wants a leadership role versus trying to represent Alabama. And just this last week, when he voted for the National Defense Authorization Act that funds taxpayer-funded abortions and drag shows, I mean, it was just heart-wrenching for me to see in the most conservative district in Alabama someone not standing up for what's right. And we've got to have more Americans to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. We don't want the status quo anymore. We've got to do something to save our country. We're on the road to bankruptcy. We've got an invasion at the southern border, and we keep doing the same thing over and over again.